5 minutes, there's a minute gift, then too much like talking, but automatic carrera power, mic. No, this one if they're talking, that's okay, but Mr. Milo, I'm nervous thinking about behind many people waiting. I'm not upset. Not much, not much exciting, not much information taekwondo. Mr. Milo say, oh, 1 hour is no problem. You and me drink times, but it's not talking. Let's change more. Next, it's just make it.
As a teacher and a parent, I can clearly state that the benefits for children who study Taekwondo are highly visible and highly measurable at home and in my school and the classroom where I teach. These children seem better able to focus and concentrate on the task at hand. Physical, social, emotional, cognitive benefits are very impressive. And in my experience, children who study Taekwondo have a high level of self-esteem and seem better able to develop positive relationships with their peers and adults. And in speaking with my sister, actually I got this information from my sister. Some studies maintain that training for children in Taekwondo or other martial arts help children who have been identified with specific learning disabilities, hyperactivity, or attention deficit disorders become calmer and more focused. And I have had a very good experience in the special ed field. I strongly believe this and have seen this actually. And it's really a great thing to see confidence build these children who have probably prior to having a positive experience with success really pardon? They haven't had a lot going for them until they maybe have gotten involved with Taekwondo or something that has boosted their confidence and helped them in their schoolwork academically as well. I have a question though that I want to pose to Master Jung, and I hope I could ask you a question.
Question just a little later, please. Just everybody.
Okay. I can hold the question, but really it involves a feeling that someone alluded to, I don't know if it was Alan or somebody, that sometimes martial arts, Taekwondo are viewed as violent in some ways. And I know there have been discussions in schools where I have taught with colleagues that this may be the case. In my experience, it is definitely not the case. From what I can tell, students of Master Jung's school conduct themselves on the playground with a quiet and peaceful self-confidence. I think they have that power within, and it's in their head, and they are very disciplined. And I believe that martial arts promotes peace from what I've seen on the playground as a teacher. I may be a little biased. Don't you think so?
Two mothers, right? Same sister. One sisters learn and practice on martial art 5 days a week. Another sisters not much attending, right? Maybe once a month. This is another.
But my son attends, and that's the main thing. But I did notice that my concentration at school slipped.
I'm so the It's a family thing. Okay, next. Okay, in between, any panelists talk finish? Not same person. Anybody to some question? Okay, please. The panelist question maybe. Next, Mr. Pearson, please.
In speaking in regards to violence, actually that's what promoted my interest was a friend of mine, he's a second degree black belt in British Columbia, and you know, Patty says, I looked at the guy and I knew I could just myrtleize him. He says, but I didn't do anything because I didn't want to hurt the guy. See, but he had an underlying confidence that he could do this, so he knew that he didn't have to. So it's, what I find with Taekwondo is that actually your perception of reality is proper, where life sometimes is up and down, so you might be overconfident or underconfident. But what Taekwondo does is you know your limits, you know how far you can go, but you know that you don't have to go to the lower limits either, because you know that you're better than that. So what I felt was it was nice because most people, you know, your life is either good or bad depending on a couple of things, either like business or family. So, you know, if business was good, life was great. But if business was bad, you know, you were having a bad week or bad month or bad year. So now what I like with Taekwondo is, you know, it diversifies my life where I can be having a bad business day, but I know that that's not, the reality is that that just might be the economy or something, but still be happy with yourself. So I like Taekwondo quite a bit. And before I never thought I had time to go for Taekwondo, but now when I have to make the time and more things get accomplished in less time.
That's my opinions. My Taekwondo to business was not really enough. Almost Taekwondo business looks like a church. Church means say anytime, oh, bring money, bring money, bring money. Not that way, but Taekwondo too. But myself too, bad day, good day. But I am all the time play man. When? Usually just one short time I explain my daily about schedule. And there was the last time I wake up 3:50, then start about 40 minutes shower before main class. Then I'm arriving 4:30 from the school. About 3:30 to 20 minutes shower time. I'm play God give to me some energy. I'm receive, then I'm give some my student good teaching. Got some new one, some new info, some new Taekwondo. Some student like some Taekwondo. And all the time that kind of play, then I'm sharp. Yeah, sometimes I'm the human, I'm the mistake. Sometimes the place is big, good business today. 10 students sign up and I made money. Then that day about we close 9:30, nobody sign up. I be sharp, no play. That be the good. But usually I'm concentration, not that kind. Working hard, good mind, clear your mind. I'm first clear. My body first clear. I'm good thinking. I'm good teaching to students. I'm dirty mind. I'm dirty body. Student can't see it. That's why I'm good. Next, Ivan. Miss Franson.
Yeah, this is my counter. I started Taekwondo, it'll be 11 years in March, for the sole purpose of learning self-defense. I've always been intrigued by the Oriental philosophy, or what I knew of it, and the martial arts, from what I've seen in movies, just their ability to, leap tall buildings, in a single bound without the cape and everything. So that's what impressed me, and that's why I something to fill that void of sport activities and whatnot. I'm not generally I shouldn't say sociable, but I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert, classify myself. So it wasn't for the social activities, for the physical, and for the mental discipline that I thought I could gain from the martial arts. So shortly afterwards, they were inviting me to attend an extra class in the Chatham home branch, and this is what I thought was their discreet way of telling me I needed extra practice, that I was a humiliation to their club, where I wasn't very good. Didn't matter to me, I just took advantage of that extra day practice because I was obsessed with it. If I missed the class in Wallaceburg, I felt guilty. I felt like I've done something wrong to myself. I'm not going to become a whole person. That's how obsessed I was with practicing the martial art. Then I did move to Chatham, and consequently at the same time Master Jung arrived to Canada. And from then it just went skyrocketed as far as my abilities went. And then I was able to practice 5-6 days a week, and I took advantage of every minute that I could. Because I started when I was older, I didn't have the flexibility that the young kids have. So I needed to find that again, so I took the extra time to warm up in class on my own, and before starting the regular class. Then Master Jung eventually welcomed me into a second class, so I needed to come even earlier so I could still do my warm-up. So eventually it became a 5-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week routine, plus the Saturday 1 or 2 hours. So I could say I quickly excelled in the sport, because then 19 months afterwards I was black belt. And that's another benefit of Taekwondo, at least this system, Master Jung's, is each level of progress is measured by a belt level, and they're such small baby steps that you don't even know that you're gaining in strength and in your abilities. You just keep striving for that next level because it is within reach. It's not a far reach, something you can hardly see. It's something that you can perceive in your mind as one day eventually becoming a black belt. But you know the bottom steps to get there is the work required. But about 2 years after starting Taekwondo, I qualified for the Canadian team. That was 1988 March, my second full contact competition, and that qualified me to go to international events, and that year being the Olympics in Seoul, Korea. So for me, the added benefit of learning Taekwondo was also traveling and learning other people's lives, background. Going to Korea, the population there is but if you can picture Toronto, Korea is maybe 10 times as busy as Toronto. I've gone to Korea twice, Peru. It's a very poor country, but I admire the people, their ability to get along in life and keep going. They don't feel sorry for themselves. Puerto Rico, Greece, an old country, Spain a couple of times, Yugoslavia when it was still Yugoslavia. The armies were all over the streets with their rifles almost ready. All these different cultures that I was exposed to, I would never have had that opportunity without Taekwondo. Another thing the reason why I think I'm obsessed with Taekwondo is the fact that it knocks down those self-imposed restrictions I put on myself. I say to myself, yeah, maybe I can jump over that table, but if I can jump over that mic, that's impossible. Or Whereas in the class, you're taught, try little steps, but never set yourself that limit until you've tried. If you can't succeed the first time, you should at least try 3, 4 times. Then maybe you can accept that limitation, but then you know you've done what you were capable of. If you've tried your honest effort into it, then you know that is your limit. But tomorrow could be a different day. Tomorrow my limit could be the flag. So each day I strive to improve myself. And with that lesson in class, I take that outside because now I'm able to speak in front of a group of people. I can express myself better. My reflexes are much better. I can drive down the street, do a donut, and still keep a coffee in my hand and not spill it. Ice conditions, of course, not on purpose. And my ability to challenge the task at hand. I've always been a procrastinator. I still think I am to some degree, but I am able to now sit down and put the plan either on paper or on my head and eventually come to some conclusion, some end. I believe without the martial art training, I probably would have stagnated in my abilities a long time ago. For me, I've been asked this question many times, well, how long are you going to practice Taekwondo? Without a question, it's for the rest of my life. It's a career to me, and it's something that I've put the time in thus far, and I can see myself putting in more time because there's so much more to learn, not just in physical, but also in the mental abilities. Taekwondo makes you feel alive because you learn so much about your body, your muscles. It just wakes you up and it makes your mind aware of things around you as well. Sometimes there's so much information in here that I've got. I've got 11 years of information that I'd like to pass on to each and every one of you. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes I'm more aggressive in my approach in trying to teach you, but I do that because you're worth it. And I think Master Jung takes each person and individualizes them. He sees them as an individual person and not as a group so much. And each person needs a coddle or each person needs a kick in the pants, depending on each person's situation. But he's inspired me that I'm worth it. And that's what I like to pass on to everybody else, that you're worth that time, you're worth that effort, a little bit of sweat, sore muscles occasionally. But the drive is there to achieve something you have never done yesterday. The drive is there to achieve something today and again tomorrow in what you have accomplished yet today. That's why martial arts is good for me.
Cameron, this Taekwondo school now moving, just temporary. Taekwondo building, that's the moving dislocation. Still continue, test, continue Taekwondo class, mind class. I remember next time, testing time, 10 point minus Cameron. Right? Keep going, maybe 10 point plus later, good job, then scratch. Okay, Cameron? Not only Cameron, anybody. So we continue class. Not very long, too long, not too long.
Thank you, Mr. Jung. I have a little bit of advantage, I think, over most of the panel here. I don't take Taekwondo in particular. My son used to, he has his black belt. But He's not here, so I can tell this story. He's 19 now, and he can walk me pretty good. But we literally had to drag him up the stairs. Master Jung may remember the day. He was crying. He didn't want to come in. And once he got there, well, he stayed there and he now has his black belt. Master Jung explained at the time when I first came down here, I am an ordained Baptist minister. I don't practice anymore. I work for Children's Aid here in the county of Kent. I have been for the past 8 years. He asked me to speak a bit on the, and I'm going to take a little bit longer perhaps, because I don't get into class and he can't get back at me. But I think one of the things that there's a lot of confusion, and Master Jung has made reference to it, is in the church you get this meditation versus the Oriental, and you can't mix the two. I believe you can. I believe you, if I were to quote some scripture to you, it says meditate daily on the Word of God. And once you're meditating, and it's a task that you learn. I found my son in particular was able to concentrate more. He is not the best student you'll ever find, but he was able to concentrate more at the task at hand, and it helped him more in his self-confidence. He has had to use it once, and it's amazing. We talk about the violence aspect of Taekwondo or any martial arts. He used it once, and that was last summer. And he came home and he apologized to me. He says, "You're going to be mad at me." That's the first words out of his mouth. And he explained what happened. It was on a porn crew, and another individual found out that he had his black belt and said, "Well, how tough are you?" He found out. Thank goodness. That's the only time he's ever had to use it, and I think that's important because the violent aspect, the religious aspect, the Christianity aspect of it, I think can be working together. It's not one or the other. I don't see Taekwondo as a violent sport, and I'll use the word sport in this case, but it can also be a lifestyle. Yvonne probably doesn't remember, but I can remember when she first came to the club for athletes, she was the training methods, and we would all sit back and watch. She's come a long way. For her to speak in public when I first met her has come a long way. Trust me. And she can say it's part of the sport, but when it builds that confidence. As a parent who has seen it work on their child, I believe it has a lot of benefits. It increases your mobility, your confidence, just the way you carry yourself physically. It has that ability to do that. Let me just take it aside and say one thing, however. In the work that I do, I see two aspects of this. There are some people in Chatham who have gone to a class maybe 6 or 7 months and feel that they now can teach Taekwondo. There is I won't mention the individual's name here in Chatham, who takes some of the street kids, and I'll use the word street kids, into his home and teaches them Taekwondo. He's not teaching them Taekwondo. He teaches them how to street fight, is what he's doing. The kids that learn Taekwondo don't get involved in street fighting. They don't get involved in the other stuff that's going on. And so there is a difference. So don't put an umbrella over everything you see, even in the martial arts, whatever they may be. Because I am dealing with 3 of the young men in particular who have taken this class, and they can take on the world. They can't, but they think they can't because of the attitude. What I've seen in my son and what I see in the club, I have been there for a while, is the opposite. It's a respect for people. It's a respect for yourself. It's a respect for your fellow man. And I think one of the other panelists said, the friend, I know I can do it. I know I can, but I'm not going to. And that's the confidence that we have. That builds up in individuals in regard to, in particular, Taekwondo. And in particular with Master Jung. I'll say I've known him for ever since he came to Canada pretty well. We were 3 or 4 students in the club when my son joined. And what that has meant to him. So I want to say thank you to him for what he has done for my family and for my son in particular. Christopher still dropped in the season every now and then. He had a knee operation a little while ago, and Susan did and talked to Master Young every now and then. So it's ongoing. What you learn today, and kids, what you learn today without the teacher in a minute, is gonna be what you